In Parshat Vaera, we read of the start of Egypt's demise through a series of 10 plagues. 7 of the 10 are read in this week's Torah portion. The first 2 plagues that God struck Egypt with evolved around water. In the first plague, the waters of Egypt turned into blood. The second plague had frogs emerge from the water, jumping into every conceivable place, even the ovens. In order to generate these miracles, Moshe was told by God that the water was to be smitten by his staff. Moshe, however, did not strike the water himself. He was told that his brother Aaron should do the smiting, for after all, as a 3-month-old child, the waters of the Nile were Moshe's refuge when he was hidden in a reed basket from Pharaoh's soldiers who were drowning all the Jewish males. It would not be fitting for one who was saved by the water to now go and strike it. The next plague, which was plague number 3, was lice emerging from the earth. After striking the earth with the staff, lice emerged, afflicting all of Egypt. Here too, Moshe was told not to be the agent that strikes the earth, but rather have Aaron do the honors. For after all, the Torah described last week how Moshe once killed an Egyptian guard who was beating on a Jew and buried him in the sand. Moshe therefore must be grateful to the earth that hid the Egyptian whom he had killed. It would not be fitting for one for whom the earth was a refuge to now go and strike that same earth. Of course, the great ethicists derive from Moshe's behavior the importance of gratitude. They highlight the fact that Moshe had to refrain from striking inanimate objects because he was saved by them years back. How much more so must me and you show gratitude to living beings who have been our vehicles of good fortune? However, when examining this story carefully, one may be bothered by the simplicity of the message. Why is striking the water or earth a display of ingratitude? Was it not the will of Hashem to have the dust converted to lice and waters converted to blood? Wouldn't it be a great elevation to those waters or the dust to be transformed to higher components of God's glory? That being the case, wouldn't it be most fitting that Moshe be chosen to elevate simple waters or lowly dirt into objects that declare the open presence of our Almighty Creator? In the early 1600s, the chief rabbi of Krakow, Poland, was the great sage and Kabbalist Rabbi Moshe Shapiro, author of the Megala Amukos. He once shared one of the most difficult cases that came before him to decide. A wealthy businessman from Warsaw would do business each month in the Krakow market. On each visit, he noticed an extremely pious widow huddled near her basket of bagels reciting psalms. She only lifted her eyes from her book to sell a bagel or a roll. After the sale, she'd shower her customer with a myriad of blessings, and immediately she'd return to saying psalms. Upon observing her each month, the Krakow businessman came to a conclusion. This pious woman should not have to struggle to earn a living. She should be able to pursue her prayers and piety with no worries. He went over to her and offered to double her monthly earnings on one condition, that she leave the bagel business and spend her time full-time in the service of the Lord. With tears of joy streaming down her face, the woman accepted the generous offer and thanked the kind man with praise, gratitude, and blessings. A month later, when the man returned to Krakow, he was shocked to find that woman at her usual place saying Tehillim and selling a few bagels. As soon as he approached her, the woman handed him an envelope. "Here is your money. I thought it over and I cannot accept your offer." "A deal is a deal," he exclaimed. "You cannot back out now. It's too late." The two could not come to an agreement, and it was decided that they must see Rabbi Shapiro. After the businessman presented his case, the woman spoke. "The reason this generous man offered to support me was to help me grow in my spirituality and devotion. However, from the day that I left my bagel business, I've only fallen spiritually. And let me explain why this is. You see, every day that it would rain, I would think of the farmers who planted the wheat for my bagels. I would sing praises to God for the glory of the rain, as I felt his personal guidance with each raindrop. When the sun would shine, I would once again thank Hashem for letting the farmers harvest in good weather. When I would grind the flour and then sift it, again I'd find countless reasons to thank the Almighty. When the bread would bake golden brown, I'd thank Hashem for the beauty of the product and its sweet smell. And when a customer would come, I'd thank both Hashem for sending him and then blessed my patron too. Now, this is all gone, and I no longer have these connections. I no longer feel these connections. I want no part of a simple, all-expense-paid life. With this story in mind, perhaps we can understand why Moshe did not strike the water. For Moshe had a very personal relationship with the water and the dust. Each time he saw the Nile or treaded upon the ground, he remembered the vehicles of his good fortune and used them to praise Hashem. Blood, frogs, and lice are surely miraculous, but they were not Moshe's personal salvation. They were not Moshe's personal story of thanksgiving to Hashem. Striking the water and the earth may have produced great national miracles, but Moshe would be left without that personal connection, appreciation, and evoker of God's love. The big global event would take place. The plague would happen and the water would be struck, but not at the expense of losing something so precious. Aaron, who did not have this personal bond, would be the one to lift the staff and begin the process of breaking down the Egyptian exile. We are to take this message to heart. Let us hold tight onto those precious objects or places that evoke from within us a special connection with God. Maintaining our personal relationships is just as important as maintaining the national one. If one forgoes marveling at a lowly speck of dust that holds personal significance and instead chooses to focus upon the huge mountains, he may never hit pay dirt. I wish you a good Shabbos.